I have the honor to be the next speaker, and I think that it's going to be a real challenge to follow in the program a speaker with such enthusiasm as Professor Thors. If I could have my presentation. We are changing now a little bit the topics in the session, and I'm going to present information on the new European Framework Program, Horizon 2020, and in particular on the content of the calls that are in preparation for the first 2 years, 2014-2015. And my presentation is going to be complemented by another presentation by my colleagues of DG Connect, which will cover more specifically the aspects related to the topics supported by DG Connect in the Factories of the Future. I would like to start by talking a little bit about the difference in approach in the topics of Horizon 2020 compared to what we used to have in the topics of the Factories of the Future under Framework Program 7. Then I will say a few words about the part of the Framework Program that deals with the leadership in enabling and industrial technologies. And finally, I will provide as much detail as can be provided at present on the Factories of the Future topics. First of all, it is important to mention that the information on Horizon 2020 is by no means final information. This is still work in progress. The program itself has not been approved by the Parliament and by the Council. We hope that this will take place very soon. Hopefully there will be a vote in the plenary later this month, and if that is positive, then we expect that the Council can adopt the Horizon 2020 program in November. But we have to work already very intensively in the preparations of the work program for 2014 and 2015, so that as soon as we have a legal basis, we can start already with publication of calls and working to have projects started as soon as possible. What is then new in the approach for the work program of the first years of 2020? We would like to have a change in the level of prescription in our topics. In some of the themes of FP7, there was a very high prescription of what should be the approach to develop in the projects. But the idea is that we should only identify a challenge, identify a problem to be solved, but without picking up what should be the approach to solve that problem. And this is going to be in that direction in Horizon 2020. This is called the challenge-based approach. And in all the topics, we will start by defining what is the challenge and trying to provide minimal information about what is expected, in particular with regard to the outcomes to be achieved with the projects, but without choosing what should be the way to solve the problem and giving as much flexibility as possible to the proposers about what they would like to include in their proposal. There is also a change with regard to the so-called funding schemes, the instruments. And in this case, it's in the way of increased simplification. You are familiar with maybe STREPs, with large projects, with small projects, but those instruments were complicated, and the idea is now to simplify only the options for research and innovation to two types of actions. One will be called the research and innovation actions, and the other one will be called the innovation actions. When we talk about research and innovation actions, the center of gravity of the activities will be in research, but there is also some degree of innovation expected to be included in all the projects. And the type of action, research and innovation action, will be paid 100% of the direct costs. The other type of action, which is called innovation actions, will have a center of gravity related to innovation activities, for example, demonstration, even though it might be possible also to include some research activities, in particular to enable those innovation activities. But the difference then with the other type of action is that in the case of innovation actions, the percentage covered by the European Commission will only be 70% of the direct cost. In both cases, then, there will be an additional contribution to the indirect cost, which will be in the level of 25%. The topics will also have broader scopes than in the past. And in particular, it's also important to have an emphasis to include as well some cross-cutting issues like social sciences, gender issues, or international cooperation whenever these are relevant. In order to prepare the work program, we have started first with some strategic programming approach a few months ago. In order to increase the impact of the funding, in order to have a more integrated approach, and to organize as well the different 7 years of the framework program Horizon 2020 in periods longer than just 1 year. Our colleagues from DG Connect used to have work programs of 2 years. In NMP, we always have had work programs of 1 year, but now the trend, the new approach will be to have work programs of 2 years, in a way that we will launch calls already for 2014, but it will already be possible to know what is prepared already for 2015, so that if someone has more interest for some of the topics in 2015, they can reserve themselves, they can start preparing already what they are going to present in 2015. And the leitmotif for the first 2 years, 2014 and 2015, for the new work program is economic crisis and the path to sustainable growth. A new word also that you will hear often in the context of the work programs for Horizon 2020 is the focus areas. In the same way as in the past, there were sometimes joint calls where several services of the Commission in charge of the framework program would put money together, either because there was an area where it was important to have contributions from those different services, or because it was an area which was clearly in the border of the scope of those different services. Here there will be some focus areas which will be not only like those joint calls with participation of topics provided by different services, but also where an important political goal has been identified to have it as the umbrella for that focus area. In particular, in the first work program for Horizon 2020, in the societal challenges, there are a number of focus areas identified, such as energy efficiency, waste, or smart cities, etc. In the case of the PPPs, I think each of the PPPs itself can also be considered a little bit as a focus area, and in particular, in those led by DG RTD, they are all cross-thematic with involvement of different parts of the framework program. So how would you expect to receive now the information on the topics in the next work program? There will be 3 key features for each of the topics. First, there will be information on the specific challenge, and that will set the context, the problem to be addressed, and a justification on why intervention is needed. Then there will be a section on the scope, but this scope will not be so prescriptive as before. It will delineate a little bit the problem, but without overly describing the specific approaches and giving flexibility to the proposers to choose what should be the route to address the problem. And then finally, the third part is also very important. It will describe the key elements of what is expected to be achieved in relation to the specific challenge. And of course, that expected impact is also going to be one of the elements that will be evaluated, and it has to be addressed very seriously. What is the time planning towards the adoption of the work program? As I mentioned, we hope that Horizon 2020 itself will soon get a legal base. Hopefully in November it will be adopted by the Council. Where are we now in relation to the preparation of the work program for the first 2 years? We have been only able to start the discussions with the member states very late. It was only in September that we could share with them our initial proposals for the work program. And now in the period of September to November, we are going to have intense discussions with them to try to have a good final product that they can give a positive opinion to. We also just launched the inter-service consultation in late September. This inter-service consultation is the way that the Commission uses to involve other services which are stakeholders when there's going to be a decision, like in this case, the launch of the work program for Horizon 2020. So what we hope is that the College of the Commissioners can finally adopt the work program on the 10th of December, and the planning is that already the next day we will publish all the first calls for the first work program of Horizon 2020. You are probably familiar with the proposal of the Commission for Horizon 2020. There will be 3 main pillars. The first one is called Excellent Science, and this one is addressing the specific needs of the scientific community in Europe. The second priority is called Industrial Leadership, and here the main issue is to address the needs of industry. And finally, the third priority, or the third so-called pillar, is called Societal Challenges, and the main objective here is to address the specific challenges of society, in particular issues like health, energy, transport, environment, etc. The factors of the future public-private partnership will fall clearly within the second pillar, because both the activities of ICT and the activities of NMP are considered within this priority. In the industrial leadership pillar has 3 parts. The first one is called Leadership in Enabling Industrial Technologies, and it includes the 6 so-called KETs, and also the ICT activities, and also space. The second part is dealing with access to risk finance, and the third part is innovation in SMEs, and it will have a specific instrument to address the needs of SMEs across the board in the Horizon 2020 program. Just to say a few words about the leadership in enabling and industrial technologies. Here we are addressing the so-called key enabling technologies, which, as we've heard already, have been identified in several policy documents of the Commission as technologies which are essential for competitiveness and to make sure that we can put in the pipeline whatever is needed for industry to achieve high technology products at the end. And there is also going to be a special emphasis on the support to the innovation by SMEs. So the emphasis here is on research and demonstration activities where there is a strong industrial dimension, and taking very much into account a number of relevant industrial roadmaps. Of course, very important are those prepared by the initiatives behind the different public-private partnerships, such as Factories of the Future, Energy Efficient Buildings, or SPIRE, but also some roadmaps corresponding to the strategic research agendas of a number of European technology platforms. You're probably familiar with the 6 KETs that were identified in the policy document by our colleagues of DG Enterprise: nanotechnologies, advanced materials, micro nanoelectronics, photonics, biotechnology, and advanced manufacturing. And advanced manufacturing, in fact, it is considered as the final one that can also get the added value from whatever is developed in all the others when we are going towards the market and towards products. In our priority number 2, we are not going to consider each of the CATs in isolation. It is also important to profit as much as possible from the synergies and from the added value of considering the CATs together. And in particular, it is envisaged that 30% of the CATs budget will be devoted to integrated CATs projects. And here we are talking about integrated CATs when we are at least having 2 different CATs and put together with advanced manufacturing as the, let's say, as the final CAT. What else is important in the late part, the leading, enabling, and industrial technologies? The projects will be outcome-oriented. This is, of course, a different approach from other parts of the framework program, like the ERC, European Research Council, where the outcome might not be so important, it's more the development of knowledge. So we would like to have key technology building blocks and also to bring them together closer to applications and to the market, so that there is industrial implementation leading to industrial competitiveness. The proposals then are expected to describe, in this case, exploitation and business plans very clearly, the engagement of the partners along the industrial value chain, issues like standardization of IPR, and also, very important, the expected impact of each of the project proposals. Then to talk a little bit more about the factors of the future PPP, of course, our activities are going to take as a basis the roadmap that was prepared by the industrial partners. And here, the main goal is the re-industrialization of Europe, to develop technologies that can boost productivity, also technologies that lead to sustainable manufacturing, and to take care of the needs of innovation of all the partners in the value chain, and to promote, facilitate that there is an increase in the industrial investment in equipment that should go from 6 to 9% by 2020. Of course, there are also additional goals related to sustainability. For example, a reduction in energy consumption, a reduction in the consumption of materials, and also that less waste is generated by the manufacturing activities. And finally, in the roadmap and in the commitments of the private side, the PPP should develop in research and in demonstration at least 40 innovative manufacturing activities in a number of domains which have been identified in the roadmap. I'm now showing here, I don't know if you can read it well, the information on the proposal of the Commission for the first topics in the factors of the future for 2014 and 2015. I need to say that this is confidential information in the sense that this is still work in progress. We are still in discussion both with the industrial partners in the PPP and with the member states, and we're still asking them for comments at this stage to our proposal. And there might be, there may be changes to these topics and also to the content of the topics that has been distributed to our industrial partners and also to the representatives of the member states. But I thought that it was also a good idea to share this already with you, in the sense that tomorrow there is a brokerage event, and we should try to do as much as possible to facilitate already the understanding of what is coming as proposed by the Commission for the coming course. So you can see here that there are topics dealing with manufacturing processes for complex structures and geometries. This, of course, taking advantage of the potential of additive manufacturing. There is also one dealing with global energy and other resources efficiency. A topic dealing with developments that would make sure that smart factories are attractive to workers. Another topic dealing with the essentials of the design of product services. One on the human-robot collaboration. And finally, a topic also in 2014, which is called support for the enhancement of the impact, and which is basically providing support for activities such as clustering, which can give added value to the running projects. And then in 2015, we have a topic dealing with custom-made parts for personalized products. We have another one on flexible production systems, a topic on technologies for advanced joining and assembly process of multi-materials, one dealing with reuse and remanufacturing technologies, and finally, one for the integrated design and management of production machinery and processes. You can see also in the last column that there is already a proposal on what should be the type of action open in each of these topics, where we have indicated that this is RIA, this is Research and Innovation Action, and this means that the center of gravity is going to be in the research, and that it is expected to be paid in 100% of the direct cost plus the contribution to indirect cost. For those topics where it has been indicated IA, Innovation Action, the idea of the Commission is to open it with a center of gravity on the innovation activities, and then it should be only paid in 70% of the direct cost plus the contribution to the indirect cost. I think that this can be useful for the event tomorrow in the morning for the brokerage, and I know that there are more than 60 people who have already showed interest to participate in that brokerage. It will be an opportunity to exchange information and interest for those who might be already preparing to participate in the first years of Horizon 2020. And I would like to announce that tomorrow my colleague Neophytos Neophytou from the European Commission will be helping to moderate the discussion in that session. And this is my last slide, so I thank you very much for your attention.